Hi and welcome. In Ephesians 6:13-17, Paul is telling us to put on the full armor of God so that we are able to stand against the wiles of the enemy. God has provided us with 6 pieces of spiritual armor to enable us to be victorious as soldiers for Christ in our battle against the spiritual hosts of wickedness. They are belt of truth, breastplate of righteousness, shoes of the gospel of peace, shield of faith, helmet of salvation, and sword of the Spirit. We will look at each piece of these spiritual armors and see how they can strengthen, protect us, and ultimately help us to triumph in our spiritual battles. Today, we are looking at the third armor, which is the shoes of the gospel of peace. As Paul looks at the Christian and his war with Satan, he sees in his mind a Roman soldier ready for battle. And all that the Roman soldier does to prepare himself suggests to the mind of Paul imagery that can be translated into the Christian's battle with Satan. To make the comparison, as a Roman soldier wears a belt with which he pulls together his loose-fitting robe, and really what he's doing at this point is making a commitment to fight. It is preparedness, it is readiness, it is anticipation, it is sincerity, it is a commitment to the battle that he's talking about. Paul sees in that the belt of truthfulness. Secondly, we saw the next piece of armor in verse 14, which says, "And having on the breastplate of righteousness." We discussed that a Roman soldier will put on a breastplate to cover his vital areas, the heart area, and the bowels in Hebrew terminology. And so, the believer protects his mind and feelings because those are the areas where Satan tempts. And then thirdly, verse 15, "And your feet shod with the preparation of the gospel of peace." Now he comes to the soldier's shoes. Shoes have become a major part of our culture. Originally, shoes were used to protect feet. Now, they've become a fashion item. Frankly, we don't need that much protection for our feet. And so, we might not necessarily get the picture as clearly as we should unless we understand how terrible the terrain was, how piercing the thorns and items lying on the ground could be, how hard it will be to walk over the cobbles and the rocks and pebbles and everything else in that part of the world. And a Roman soldier wouldn't get out in a battle with just a normal leather shoe with a sleek bottom. He'd be slipping and sliding all over every place. He'd be trying to climb a rock to fight, and he'd be slipping down the rock. Many wars have been lost because soldiers didn't have adequate shoes. In those days, knowing that an army was coming behind a certain army, they would plant in the ground sticks sharpened to a razor point, facing towards the army, hoping to pierce the feet of the advancing soldiers. And so, in order to protect themselves, the Roman soldiers would wear a boot that had a heavy sole so that it couldn't be pierced, because if their feet were pierced, they couldn't walk, and that could debilitate the entire soldier. He could be the best soldier there was, he could have the greatest strength, but if his feet were hurt, he's finished. And so their footwear was very important. They used a thick-soled, hobnailed semi-boot which had straps that tied it in all directions so that it was tremendously tight, adhering to their foot. On the bottom, they had hobnails, little pieces of metal that protruded from the bottom like a football shoe to give them a grip on the soil. This gave them firmness of footing so they could stand in the battle, and that's what Paul sees. He sees this Roman soldier standing, and his feet are firm. He's able to hold his ground and make quick moves. He doesn't slip, he doesn't slide, and he doesn't fall. And now he says, Christians need to have shoes too. You can get out there, you can have your waist all cinched up, you are committed, you can have your breastplate on, living a godly and righteous life, but unless you can stand on your feet, you're going to fall over. And so, you must have a solid base. Now, let's go back to verse 15. Your feet are to be shod with the preparation of the gospel of peace. Throughout the years, most commentators have said what this means is that you have a symbolic call to evangelism here. And they borrow it from that idea from Romans 10:15. That says, Blessed are the feet of those who preach the good news, which is a quote from Isaiah 52:7. But Romans 10:15 is not a verse to explain this. In the first place, that has nothing to do with warfare. That has nothing to do with shoes. That's just saying that the people who hear the gospel will bless the people who brought it to them. Paul is not talking about going anywhere. He's not talking about taking the gospel to anyone. He's talking about standing, not going. The issue is not evangelism. The issue is taking a firm stand in a battle against the devil as he assaults our lives. He's talking about standing where you are and fighting the devil. It's like 1 Corinthians 16:13. Stand fast in the faith, that you may withstand, and having done all, to stand. It's all about standing, not about going. The idea here is that our feet need to be equipped to stand firmly when the attacking blows come. And he is saying, because our feet are shod with the good news of peace, we stand our ground. We don't slip, we don't slide, we don't fall when we are under attack. So what is it that can allow the believer to stand unflinching, take his stand, never slip, never slide, never fall under attack? What is it that gives us a firm footing? It is having your feet prepared with the gospel of peace. That's essentially the theme of the opening verses of Romans 5. Romans 5 verse 1 says, Having been justified by faith, we have peace with God through our Lord Jesus Christ. What does it mean to be at peace with God? Simply, it means that God is not our enemy, but God is our strength. And it takes you right back to Ephesians 6:10. Be strong in the Lord and in the strength of His might. It means He's on our side. We stand firm because we know that we are in reality invisible. Satan may come at us, tempting us one way or another. We are firm in the great truth that we are at peace with God. Therefore, God is on our side. Therefore, I have no fear of Satan. I stand firm in the truth. I stand firm against the onslaught of Satan in the confidence that God is on my side and His strength is fully available to me. Please follow me on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram, and let's stay connected.